Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of my viewers who've been enjoying these Doctor Who specials and watching these videos I've been making for the past few months. I've really enjoyed doing this. I really appreciate y'all. The discourse has been very intelligent and civil. I really enjoyed responding to all you guys and gals. And yeah, I just want to say thanks to all my subscribers who have stuck with me for the past few months since I started the channel. Just wanted to give you all a shout out. Now on to the episode review itself. I would say this episode was good, not great. It was fine, which is fine. That's fine for a first story of a new Doctor. Unfortunately, I feel like Regeneration stories and Christmas stories are not usually the best format for what Doctor Who does best. They both have their limitations that get in the way of a truly classic Doctor Who story. Regeneration and Christmas stories have always been kind of a mixed bag. They rarely make it onto my favorite stories list. There are a few that I like, but in general, they're always a little different. Regeneration is because, unlike a classic, middle of the season Doctor Who episode, which is usually where I find my favorites, a Regeneration story has a lot of heavy lifting to do. It has to churn through a lot of exposition. It has to get you up to speed with the Doctor and what their personality is like and what they're going through with their regeneration. And oftentimes there's a new companion, so you have to learn about the companion, their life and their backstory and their hang-ups, and they have to meet and they have to get to know each other. So that takes up a lot of screen time. And secondly, a Christmas special, they usually have to be a little more silly, a little more lighthearted and family-friendly, and even goofier than your standard Doctor Who special, which has never been my favorite. I like the Doctor Who episodes. I mean, I'm down with some comedy and some goofiness in Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong, it's Doctor Who after all. But my favorite Doctor Who specials are the ones that take things a little more seriously, the ones that are a little bit deeper and darker and more horror tinged. And this had some horrific elements, but for the most part, it was a very light, goofy romp with an emotional button to it. Neither of those things really mixed together with what I consider to be like the best Doctor Who formula, which is Doctor and companion show up, you immediately know who they are already, you don't have to get any backstory out of them, they can just hit the ground running, jump right into the science fiction concept and the scary alien monsters, which is the bread and butter of Doctor Who. Because there's so much exposition and getting to know the characters and Christmassy stuff going on, the villain takes a bit of a backseat in the story, much like many villains do in various Doctor Who Regeneration stories. They're often a secondary concern to the Doctor and the companions themselves. In this story, you really only see the villains in two scenes. You see hands like moving stuff around here and there, but you really only get two Goblin scenes and then they're done. So I thought that hurt the story a little bit. It made the pacing feel a bit wonky. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start with what I did like about the story, which is Ncuti Gatwa, who I thought was a great Doctor. Like I said last story, he hit the ground running. I think he has a lot of energy, a lot of charisma. I'm digging this more empathetic, passionate Doctor. He openly shows his emotions. He openly talks about how he cares about people and he loves things. He's not a grouch. He does get a little overly fascinated with things at times. I wasn't really loving that. I didn't love how long it took him to rescue the baby. maybe that's going to be a flaw or a hang up in his character moving forward. Overall, I liked him. I thought he did a really great job. I'm excited to see a whole season with this Doctor and really get to know him better. Because I still, like a lot of Doctors, I felt like he's still kind of cooking. I feel like he's still warming up to the role and getting into the vibe of it. And him and Millie Gibson are still kind of developing their relationship, and they start to have some chemistry in the story. They have a lot of hyper young person energy, I would say. They're bouncing off the walls, they're running around, they're yelling a lot, which is fun to watch, but can get annoying, for a grouchy old man such as myself, if there's too much of that, which there wasn't in this story, but, we can see what happens. David Tennant and Rose got on my nerves a little bit in Series 2, so we'll see. But overall, yeah, I really liked them. I thought they were good together. I thought Millie Gibson had some standout moments, some great emotional moments. I like when she got the phone call from the woman, telling her that there's no evidence, no way to find anything about her real parents. She took that pretty hard, and I thought that was a very believable scene. Ncuti has a lot of fun scenes. He has a really amazing emotional scene. At the end of the story, when the fake ending happens and then we realize that Ruby's missing, he really cut loose there, and I really bought his emotions, and it showed a lot of his compassion and his heart and his love of humanity that really shined through in that scene. And just like the weight of the tragedy of losing this person who we could see, in a very It's a Wonderful Life kind of way, that she had touched her mother's life in such a way that she became a better person, a more loving, open person. And I thought he really killed it in that scene. So that was like the big standout emotional moment for Ncuti of these 4 specials, I guess you could call them. That was his big moment, and I thought he nailed it. So that was good. Yeah, this story is a total mixture of Gremlins, Labyrinth, and It's a Wonderful Life. Like, straight up, it's those 3 things mixed together, put in a blender, and then drop Doctor Who into it. You know, I like all those movies a lot. In fact, all 3 of those movies are classics, in my opinion. But I felt like the story was a little thin in the Goblin antics. You know, they made a tree fall, they made a few drinks fall, they made some people trip, and they stole a baby. But I would have liked to see a little more Goblin action. The story was just a little light on the villains, I thought. And I feel like they kind of hurt the story and the flow of it. I did like the way the villains looked. I'm digging this era of Doctor Who where it seems like they're really leaning into the practical monster effects and alien effects with CGI supplemented when they need it. So I thought the Goblin King looked awesome. He was a very big, practical, Jabba the Hutt-esque puppet monster. The little goblins look pretty cool. I think they're actually real people in costumes that they just green screened and reproportioned their bodies and their heads. So they have an eerily realistic motion to them, even though they do look like they're all kind of green screened together into one environment. So that doesn't look perfect, but overall I thought the effects were really good. The ship looks awesome. I love how it's all these just planks of wood and pieces of timber and stuff lashed together with all these ropes and so forth. I thought that was a really cool visual design. I like the aesthetic of the villains, that's for sure. The Goblin Song was not as big of a hit for me as I think it was for a lot of other people. I know they released the song early as like its own little video on YouTube, try to build up the hype. I know they wanted like sort of a viral moment with the song, and I think they may have gotten that. But I refrained from watching the video ahead of time because I wanted to get the full force effect of the song and dance number in the context, you know, media and res of the story itself. So I saw it for the first time in the episode, and you know, I thought it was okay. It was not great, actually. It was a little disturbing. I didn't love the song about eating the baby. I think a little bit of the entertainment value was lost on me because I was worried about the baby. I know that sounds silly, but I was worried about the baby, and I was really kind of getting annoyed with how slowly the Doctor and Ruby were taking to get to the baby. You know, the baby's getting rolled along in this really short little conveyor belt, and the monster's mouth is just like, he's rolling towards this giant maw, and the Doctor and Ruby are just kind of watching, and the Doctor's like fascinated by the music and the culture of these people, and he's not even like concerned that this baby's going to eat in any second. So I didn't love that. I didn't like that about the scene, and I didn't like that about the Doctor's behavior or Ruby's in that sequence. And the song was, I'm sorry, you know, the song was just okay. It wasn't as catchy as I was hoping as it would be. I'm probably spoiled because of Alan Wake 2 and Herald of Darkness. And I don't know if any of you are video game players out there, but if you are, and if you happen to play that game, you know what I'm talking about. Best, most surreal sci-fi musical number in the middle of a science fiction / horror story of the year. You can't top it. I'm sorry, Doctor Who. But, you know, it was fine. I liked the Goblins. I did enjoy when the Doctor fell out of the ceiling and he improvised and decided to start singing again, and they all went along with it. And then he got Ruby in there, and she sang too, and we already established that she's a musician because she was in a goofy band earlier in the episode. So I guess that tracks. So, but just in general, that was a humorous way to escape that sequence. I like that. They had some fun chemistry. I liked when they were both yelling at each other about not leaving the baby alone. You know, you left the baby alone. You left the baby alone too. Well, you know, that was fun. That was a funny back and forth. I enjoyed that exchange. But then when the mother showed up, I felt like I didn't quite get why they were running around and acting so weird, and like they're trying to hide the baby or hide something from the mother. I know they were aware the goblins are maybe still around trying to cause havoc or something, but they weren't acting like they were trying to like protect the mother or protect the baby. They were acting as if they were trying to hide something that they couldn't possibly hide. So I don't know, that felt a little bit like kind of weird forced hijinks, goofiness for goofiness sake there. I didn't quite buy that. Let's see, another thing. Oh, I didn't like Ncuti's gloves. I like the concept of his gloves. I think it's a really cool idea, but they look like those kind of like generic black fuzzy gloves you can buy at Walgreens for $3.99 when you like forgot that it's cold out and you need a pair. It just looked like black fuzzy gloves with some gold tinsel glued to the tops of them, which I thought was a little weak. Like, I know that like maybe he's trying to have them disguised as regular gloves or whatever, but they could have had a little more flair to them. You know what I mean? Like, they were such an important element of the story. It's such an important prop. You know, you think the costume designers would have put a little more love into that. But anyway, minor quibble. I also don't like his screwdriver. I know this is a common complaint at this point. I think a lot of people aren't crazy about the new screwdriver, you know, but I'll just say what it looks like to me, which is it looks like cheap plastic. It doesn't look metallic to me, or, you know, it looks like a kid's toy. It also looks like an old television remote control from the early 2000s. So, yeah, not great on that look. Maybe he'll get a new one after the first season. I liked his outfit a lot. I totally dug all of his costumes. He's got a great style. I like the leather jacket and the rainbow shirt, you know, a little nod to 13 maybe there. And I like the hat he's rocking in just one scene for a second. So costuming for him looks great. And Ruby, she's got a cool outfit going on. The whole fake out twist, I didn't quite buy it because it was so early in the story and they literally just encountered the enemies for the first time. I didn't think it was going to end with them climbing into a ship, rescuing the baby, and just being, you know, done and dusted. So that didn't quite land for me, but the twist was actually really good. As revenge, they went back in time and stole Ruby as a baby. I thought that was cool and like kind of a very poetic irony. And then that leading to the doctor talking to the mother and having that really beautiful emotional heart-to-heart with her, where she shows that she's a much more sad, bitter person who doesn't take joy in the fostering she does. She just does it to make a little bit of money. And, you know, the wall of children on her fridge has disappeared, and how much that stabs the 15th Doctor in the heart. Not just that Ruby has disappeared from existence, but just what a ripple effect has had and how much worse the world is just in this personal family level because she's gone. I thought that was really touching, and I thought he and the actress who plays the mother, I thought they both killed it in that scene and just had a really amazing, believable, emotional moment with real tears and pathos. It was good. That was really good. The finale was really, I liked how he pulled the gloves back into the story. The goblin getting stabbed in the stomach, that was pretty badass. A nice little bit of horrific violence in the middle of the otherwise tame Christmas special. Well, there's a baby eating song too, I suppose. And a woman gets implied to be stabbed in the head by the Christmas tree, but that's fixed later. I didn't love how the ship disintegrated. It seemed like a very organic, rustic, organic thing that's lashed together. It's held together with wood and rope and so forth. So I felt like when the Goblin King died, I can buy that his magic or his like coincidence magic or whatever was holding the ship together, but I feel like the ship should have just like fallen apart into a mess and then maybe disintegrated. I would accept that, you know, if there's no evidence of a giant alien ship, but it just kind of, it disintegrated like it was made out of a hologram, or, you know, it was digital, or it was a bad guy from a video game, you know, just like poof, it's gone. Self-cleaning bad guy, very convenient. I didn't love how that looked. Thematically, I love that they're pulling probably the best aspect of a Timeless Child reveal, which I ultimately don't really like or feel is necessary. But I like that it seems like they're pulling the emotional threads. It took the best part of the Timeless Child reveal and wove it into the story and made it a core part of the Doctor's character and a core part of what connects the Doctor to Ruby. That being the fact that they're both orphans. I thought that was cool because the Timeless Child reveal, you know, a lot of what I didn't like about it was that it basically was a chosen one reveal. The Doctor is the origin of the species. They're almost a godlike being. They have a much bigger, more important role in the history of their entire race and planet than they thought they did. You know, they're not just a wandering hobo who's learned how to be a good person. I didn't love any of that. I think that took away a big element of the relatability of the Doctor. But this component, that the Doctor is an orphan, that they recently discovered they're an orphan, and that their past isn't what they thought it was, that is the good part of it. That's the part that can be mined for some real, deep, relatable human drama, which is what I think the purpose of good science fiction and good dramatic storytelling, what they're trying to go for with that. You want to take a science fiction concept, use it as a way to reveal character and drama and hard choices and introspection and existential questions. You know, that's what you want to use science fiction to do, to drudge up a lot of the psychological and emotional conundrums that we can all relate to, that humanity as a whole relates to, the human condition. You want to connect science fiction to the human condition. By connecting the timeless child reveal to the Doctor having to emotionally process the fact that he is an orphan now, that he has a mysterious past, and he doesn't know who his parents are. Having that be the emotional foundation of his character and potentially his character arc for this season, I think is a very smart move. And tying it directly to the companions' backstory and character arc, having them both be orphans who are struggling to find their place in this world and loved ones and connections. Just having this very real, relatable human condition that exists for many people in this world, being an orphan or growing up without both parents or in a foster home, things like a lot of people go through that or have a loved one or a friend who's going through that and can relate to that. So having that be the core of the story is the biggest strength of this story, I believe, and potentially the biggest strength moving forward for the upcoming season. Only thing left to talk about really is, of course, the Mrs. Flood reveal at the end where she turned directly to the camera, broke the fourth wall, and said,
"Never seen a TARDIS before."
So clearly she's going to be a part of the Bad Wolf, Harold Saxon, whatever-esque character, story arc that will be occurring in this season of Doctor Who. Now, I suppose it is time. I must do my duty at this moment and speculate wildly about who this character could possibly be. Let's just rattle them all off really quickly here, okay? So she could be the Ronnie, because she mentioned a TARDIS, and she's a lady. Maybe she's planted Ruby intentionally in the past, and she's set her to intertwine with the Doctor's timeline and go time traveling to cultivate her brain, and then she wants to steal her brain for some sort of evil long game experiment. So maybe the Ronnie. It could be Romana, because it's a lady and she mentioned the TARDIS. It could be Susan, because she's a lady and she mentioned the TARDIS. It could be the Master, because she's a lady and she mentioned the TARDIS, and she's maybe pulling a Missy thing, where she's going to pop in and be kind of eccentric and weird here and there throughout the season, then reveal she's the big bad at the end. She could be the Master again. She could be Tecteun. There's a plot thread that never really went anywhere, that was cut drastically short before it even got started. Maybe RTD is going all in on the Chibnall era lore and has incorporated Tecteun, who did not die, to fake out death, as villains often do. Or maybe an earlier version of Tecteun, a backup version, an alternate reality, alternate universe version, who knows. But maybe this is Tecteun's plan B, because her Flux plan kind of failed. So her plan B is to plant Ruby in the Doctor's timeline and cultivate, again, kind of like the Ronnie's idea, use Ruby to set the Doctor on the right path that Tecteun wanted her to go on all along. It could be He Who Waits, the mysterious villain that's been hinted at a couple of times at the 60th Beep and Meep, said the boss. The toy maker mentioned He Who Waits, a different game, not one he's playing. She could be He Who Waits. Potentially. And finally, it could be somebody else. It could just be a new character, be a different character. She could just be a regular old neighbor who broke the fourth wall and jumped the shark and just talked directly to the camera because the writers thought it would be cute and cheeky and it's Christmas, so whatever. Everyone's kind of drunk on eggnog already. Just have the final character randomly talk to the camera. Have a little bit of a William Hartnell moment.
Incidentally, a happy Christmas to all of you at home.
So anyway, that's my wild speculation on who that character could be. I'm sure at least one of my options might possibly, potentially be sort of right. I did appreciate that there was a Christmas tree that almost murdered a person. It would not be a Doctor Who Christmas special if there wasn't some piece of Christmas ornamentation, a tree, an ornament, snowmen, Santa Claus trying to murder somebody in the episode. So, good on them to bring back that holiday Doctor Who tradition. Unfortunately, she didn't die. She was not impaled in the head. The Doctor saved her, thus taking away a really good Christmas kill. On the plus side, he did basically get his everybody lives moment in the story, which I guess is appropriate for a fun, light Christmas story. So, everybody lived, except for the Goblins, of course.
Just this once! Everybody lives!
So overall, I thought this was a good episode, not a great episode. I thought it was a fine introductory story for the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday. It did everything it needed to do, which is essentially introduce and have us get to know and like the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday, and have a lightly entertaining story wrapping around them while they do it. and seed some interesting, intriguing mysteries, some breadcrumbs that will make people want to continue to watch and find out what's going on with Mrs. Flood and Ruby's mysterious mother and so forth. I think it did its job. I don't think it was a perfect story. It's not like in my top 10. It's not even in the top of the ranking list of these 60th specials included with this one. I'd say it's somewhere in the middle. Like I said earlier, Regeneration and Christmas stories are very mixed. I don't often jive with them as well as other types of Doctor Who stories. So, take my opinion with a grain of salt, I suppose. But, I didn't love David Tennant's first story, the Christmas story that he appeared in. I thought it was just okay. I ended up loving the Tennant era, but I didn't love his first story either. So, it's always a mixed bag. But overall, this was a fine story. This was a fine story, and I like the Doctor and Ruby, and the mystery's intriguing, so I think we're off to a good start. I am excited to see the full season with the 15th Doctor in the coming year. Yeah, I think it's fine. I give it a B. Not a plus or a minus. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was just fine. It was a solid B story. So, that's it. This is the last video I'm making this year because the year's practically spent at this point. So I just want to, one more time, give a big ol' thank you to my viewers, my subscribers, you folks who have stuck with me for the past few months and slowly been growing the channel and talking with me and, chatting in the comments and so forth. I've really enjoyed all of that. It's been a very cool, warm welcome to the YouTube universe, and I appreciate all of you guys' support, and I hope to see you all next year. I got lots of videos planned. I've got a few already in the editing dock. I just got to wrap them up and get them out there, so those will be coming next month. I plan to do like a ranking video of the 60th plus the Christmas special. A whole bunch of good stuff coming ahead. But for now, I don't know about y'all, but for a lot of people, and myself included, this has been a very hectic and crazy year. So having all of you guys support my videos and just like having something positive to do in this past few months has really helped me along personally. So, again, I appreciate that. So to all of you out there, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I hope you all have an amazing and fantastic New Year. And that's it. That's all I got to say. So, as always, and until next time, Kay, signing out.